The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk Extra. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and I am here solo tonight. Unfortunately, I missed the show with my brother earlier this morning due to some technical difficulties. He and I definitely discussed amongst ourselves, but between you and I, because Cole and I have that show that we send off to the radio airwaves, I'm here to basically give my takes on a follow-up of what we were going to do together this morning on Total Football Talk. And we're going to do it tonight in a very special episode of Total Football Talk Extra, which we normally have on Fridays and or Saturdays, recapping Monday and Thursday night's events. This past weekend, I actually did it on Saturday due to the Thanksgiving holiday. And this week, with that episode covering last Monday, last Thursday, and the Friday, Black Friday game, I will be covering just the Sunday afternoon games and giving a preview of what I think is going to happen in tonight's game. But that game is actually taking place right now, and it's into the second quarter. The Browns are up they're tied 7-7 with the Broncos. Browns 3-8 coming into this game. The Broncos 7-5 hosting this game in Colorado. But tonight, I will be basically recapping what happened in this past weekend. I'll give you a preview and also some updates of the game tonight that's going on while I'm on the air with this broadcast. But thank you guys for tuning in to this show tonight. And again, wish I could have done this with my brother Cole earlier today, but this is making up for it right now. My man Sick Dicky is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get in the red zone. Let's get extra wild and extra deep and extra insightful. Welcome to Total Football Talk Extra. Shout out to my man Sick Diggy out here in the comments. Always a great loyal fan that we have with our content all the way from Norway, not even in the United States, which is what makes our content international. Shout out to him. And he says, welcome back online. Yes, I was slated to be there with Cole this morning, but with technical difficulties, I was not able to make it until right at the end. So Cole just finished it on up. And I said, you know what? I'll make an extra episode tonight since I am taking a PTO day today. And it was already pre-planned, with that. I was going to be off today, but I'm going to just go ahead and give what I thought my recap would be along that and chop this up with the episode that was earlier today. All this that I'm saying right now won't be in there, but there's certain parts from this episode that I'm going to chop up and put in with earlier's episode to make it the radio version that we're going to have for the next 2 days out there to all of you that'll be listening to the audio version after today. So shout out to Cole for making part 1 of Total Football Talk. And right now I'm here with Extra. So, Total Football Talk Extra in the house. Let's go ahead and take it to the opening drive and recap this past Sunday's action for Week 13.
All right, let's go. We got trips right at 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Ready.
And here with the Week 13 action. Yes, that is me in the thumbnail. Yes, that is Josh Allen in the snow. And we're going to recap that game and much more with these Sunday games. With that being said, because we are in the opening drive. And to make it correct for my man, for everybody out there, so that way I don't take the... I'm going to say a couple things that right now don't fit, but they will when I chop it up and put it into the other episode. And I am Drew Willingham. Welcome to Total Football Talk. It's always an honor, joy, and privilege to be here with you all. That is sincere, but that is also going to be put in when Cole does the introduction into the other episode with the radio version. So that is why I just said what I said. But with all that being said, so that way I don't take the... It's also a place to let me know to chop certain parts out with the extra L's so we don't take any more. Let's take it to the Sunday games. And now that we are here with the Sunday games, let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. That being the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. You know, Cole just gave us the stats with that, and I'm going to give you my breakdown with this. When it comes to the Chargers and Falcons game, you know, it was kind of tough between both offenses going against both defenses because this game ended as a one-possession game. I think there was like a dozen one-possession games over the course of this past week, 13 games, and this was one of them that was pretty tight. Kirk Cousins, through 4 interceptions, basically gave the game to the Chargers. I think the Falcons could have won decisively had the Chargers not gotten all those interceptions. And it was all on the shoulders of what my man Cole just said earlier, Kirk 2 Chains Cousins. And shout out to BS3 as well for him saying that to BS3. But have to say this, Kirk 2 Chains Cousins, Sam Darnold's playing better than you this year, bud. That's pretty sad. Didn't think I'd be saying that at this point in the year. There's a lot of money invested in you, and you just throw the game. You didn't literally throw it on purpose like the Chicago Black Sox in baseball in 1919, but you did literally throw the game. 4 interceptions. You did have a carry for 3 yards. Congratulations. But to me, you are the reason why the Falcons lost this game. Justin Herbert only put up 147 passing yards, had 7 incompletions out of 23 attempts, completing 16 passes. Did have 5 carries on the ground and did muster up 1 yard from those 5 carries. However, Herbert did manage to have a rushing touchdown, which is what I do like to see. That is a decisive factor in this game because he could not get the passing game going. Falcons defense wasted effort, 5 sacks on the day. Kirk Cousins, you definitely threw this game, bud, and you should be ashamed of yourself for the 4 interceptions. But you'll bounce back. You'll be all right. We'll talk about this upcoming game for you later on in the 2-minute drill. It was close to me clicking the bowl and shoe ugly graphic for that, but I kind of let it go this occasion. I just let it go. But the next game we have, a very close one. The Arizona Cardinals traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Very close contest indeed. Sam Darnold only had 10 incomplete passes on 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns by Sam Darnold here. Wow. You know, he did have 4 carries for 22 yards, but you got to look at what old Sammy D did in this game. He did just enough to help them get over the edge. John Parker Romo also had 3 completed field goals out of 4 attempts, which is what tipped the scales on the score. And one of those went for a long of 55 yards. A shout out to old John Parker Romo. You know, very big leg over there in the UFL, the USFL, and all of the basic minor league contest within football, because that's where he came through. He's kind of like the Kirk Warner of field goal kickers, I would say. I mean, look at it. Look at his resume. I'm not BSing you. John Parker Romo definitely saved the game right here for the Vikings. Now, looking at the other side for the Cardinals, it wasn't too bad for Kyler Murray, nor was it. 2 interceptions on the day. He did have 260 passing yards, but had 14 incompletions out of 45 attempts. I mean, very tough game indeed. The Vikings defense definitely contained him and did pretty good. Cardinals defense did their job too, which is why this game was close. They had 5 sacks on the day too. So just like the Falcons in the first game, in the second game, the losing team has 5 sacks. Whew. It's tough pill to swallow when you have that type of effort by your defense and it's wasted. And now you have to watch as your team lost by a point. And it all results in 2 interceptions that were thrown. The big difference in the first 2 games, Kirk Cousins with 4. Then you have Kyler Murray with 2. And it's a difference maker in this game. Between that and the field goal kickers, look at it for what it is. Sick Diggy says, even if I can't make the live show, there's always the replay, and I'm always dropping a like. Well, I appreciate it. This is also a way for Cole and I to have extra content when I was talking to him about it earlier. So that I can fit it in this evening, and we can have extra content, and I can blend the two together and make an episode out of it because the episode earlier wasn't right at the 2 hours. So I'm going to chop some things up, add them in there. Some things will be there, some things won't, but it will be right at 2 hours for the audio airwaves. These comments will be taken out of the audio version, though. But this is a live and fun edition. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Support your local content creators. Absolutely. Whether it's for Cole, for this other part of the broadcast, this is simulcast between 2 different YouTube channels. Right here from mine with Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, as well as on Comey Media, where he's making content magic in the real world. So I'm telling you guys, you got to go back and check it out. Check his content out. Also check out our other brothers out there. And you know who they are, the regular ones on our platforms. Brian McCarthy, Snowman, Wazel Hefe, all of them. So go out and check them out. Other than that, when it comes to these games, we have to look at the others that are on the slate for this Sunday. 7 total games on Sunday afternoon. We've gone through 2. Let's go ahead and take it to the other 5 out here in these streams. It's not an upset. Wrong button. That's what editing's for the later versions as we are live. Yes, having fun out here with the shenanigery. Indianapolis Colts traveled to New England to take on the Patriots. The road team getting the win here. Anthony Richardson with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, as well as a rushing touchdown, which is what tipped the scales in this game. Colts defense did have 4 sacks on the day, which is what I like to see. Patriots offense, though, kept it within a 1-point, contest, 1 possession game, 1-point contest altogether. When the clock hit 0, 25-24, definitely remarkable with the type of season they're having. I don't know if it's that remarkable or if it just goes to show how underdeveloped this Colts team is and needs a lot of help before we can take them seriously again. Between all that, you got to look at the Patriots offense with 200 rushing yards, like my man Cole said. Christian Ellis with an interception on defense, and Joey Sly adding, some field goals on the day, but he missed 2, which is what definitely tipped the scales for the Patriots. When you look at the favoring, they could have gone either way with those 2 missed field goals, but one of those was a long of 55 yards. So shout out to Joey Sly for keeping it close, but the Colts definitely take this game in a 1-point possession at the end. All right, now at this next game, got to take a look at the Seattle Seahawks traveling to New York to take on the Jets. Another road team getting another road win. And it happens to be another team on that side of the coast. On the East Coast, take a look at the New York Jets and what they've been this year. Absolute dumpster Pelicans. When you take a look at what Aaron Rodgers has done for this New York Jets team this year, we will definitely talk more about Aaron Rodgers later on in this broadcast, as I had some things saved, locked and loaded, ready to go for earlier's episode. But for here, in this game, 26-21 was the final score. Seattle Seahawks winning this game on the road. Geno Smith, 20-31 for 206 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers on the other side of that, 21-39 for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and threw an interception. Brees Hall had an opportunity to get this thing going with with right at a dozen touches in the game, but only mustered up 60 yards on the ground. Could not get the ball in the end zone. One of Aaron Rodgers' 2 touchdowns was to his boy, Devontae Adams, who finished with 5 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. But the big story in this game was the Seattle Seahawks getting an 8-yard run by Zach Charbonnet with 5 minutes and 31 seconds left to take the score in the lead of 26-21 in this contest. Aaron Rodgers, definitely another dud for him in this game. Underwhelming performance for him. 3-9 is the Jets' record this year. Seahawks are still in contention with 75 record. However, they still have a ways to go for me to take them seriously. The New York Jets, they are cooked. Can you say Aaron Rodgers' career is cooked? We'll have to talk more about that at a later date and time, as many others are out there already speculating it, but I'm going to at least wait till the end of the season before I go too hard on Aaron Rodgers with that one. But I will say that his performance here in this New York Jets performance, well, in all phases, was absolutely can't deny it. You really, really, really can't deny it. It definitely wasn't a It definitely wasn't. Now, let's take a look at the other games. When it comes to this next game, Tennessee Titans and Washington Commanders, I'm repping the jersey today, and I'm going to give my my in-depth analysis on this game tomorrow during the Commanders Gridiron Report. I am planning to have that at the right time, which is normally Tuesdays. Get that going and get that knocked on out for the week. Tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday. I will be cutting this part out too. But just wanted to let you guys know, but when it comes to this game right here between these two teams, Titans and Commanders, we all knew that they were going to lose when it comes to the Titans. Anybody who's been watching the Titans this year knows that this team is going to come up in here and lose pretty bad. I mean, I didn't know they were going to lose this bad, but they lost by over 3 possessions in a game that was definitely meaningful for the Commanders to stay alive within the playoff hunt. More than likely, they'll be playing for the wild card for the remainder of the year when they come back from their bye this week, because the Commanders are on bye for week 14. Finally, they get a break. But 8-5 after this game against the Titans definitely was big for them to get this win, and they got a big one, as Jaden Daniels was 25 of 30 for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, as well as Brian Robinson Jr. having 16 carries for 103 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 8 receptions for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Will Levis, even though he didn't turn the ball over, he was pressured a lot in this game and couldn't really get it going. He was 18 of 37 for his passes on completions, 212 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, 8 carries for 35 yards on the day. I know he's been playing better than he would be if he was in Dallas with the type of line they have over there. However, for this Titans team, they are looking really, really bad. Really bad. 3-9, just like the New York Jets. We just talked about them, about how bad this New York Jets team is. Commanders improved to 8-5. Terry McLaurin has another game with multiple touchdowns and has absolutely been racking them up over the past few weeks. You have to take a look at McLaurin's production for this team. He has been the highlight over several weeks now. I mean, he's got 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games, 2 in here, and then he had 5 receptions for 102 yards against the Cowboys. He did struggle against the Eagles, but throughout the entirety of the season, I mean, he's got 9 touchdowns receiving, and he's got 896 yards through 13 games. He still has 4 games left to play. And he is definitely going to reach 1,000 yards, stays healthy, and continues to play the way that he is. I can see him getting 1,200 yards to receiving easy and about 12 touchdowns. I can see him getting 3 touchdowns over the course of the last 4 games, possibly more if he keeps playing like this. Him and Jaden Daniels have a special chemistry already throughout 13 games and what they were able to put together throughout training camp, which is why this rookie is playing at quarterback and doing the things that he's doing. I was privileged to be at the game where he had the Hail Mary pass against the Bears. Absolutely crushed the Bears for the rest of the year. Got Eberflus fired to where he was saying this after the game last week.
Because it's 3rd to 4th, you got to throw it into the end zone then. So to me, it's I think we handled it the right way. I do believe that, you just re-rack the play, get it in bounce, and call timeout, and that's why we held it and didn't work out the way we wanted it to. I'm the head football coach, so I'm taking the blame, of course. That's what you do. So we didn't get it done. It starts at the top, and it starts right here. So accountability is right here with me.
And even though the seat was hot before that Hail Mary game against the Commanders, you can honestly say that Hail Mary situation in itself is what expedited the path to get the Bears to where that was his last press conference last week after that Thanksgiving debacle. And we're now here to where the Commanders are winning another game. They've doubled the wins that they had last year already to a bye week. I even said that earlier this year. If they can get to the bye week and have doubled their wins, I'd say that's a successful year in itself, because even if they lose the last 4, which they're not going to, but even if they did, they'd only be one game under 500 for the season. And I could live with that as a supporter, as a fan, and as someone who covers the team. Now, with Total Football Talk Extra, when it comes to the Titans and the Commanders, absolute bowling shoe ugly game. We got to click it. It really was. And with that being said, let's take it to the next one. So for the next one, we have to talk about Cole's team. Cole broke it down very well earlier this morning when he was talking about he's just not impressed with how this Texans team that's 8-5 is at this point in comparison to the Washington Commanders. Cole, you're absolutely right, and I feel the same way. And you and I were enjoying the ride last year of the Texans. I was enjoying it as a supporter for you because my team was absolutely sucking last year. But last year in itself is different in comparison to now, where it's flipped. Your team's still doing pretty well at 8-5, but my team that's 8-5 that I'm repping right here absolutely looks better at 8-5 than the way your team has gotten there. And I've had some, I wouldn't say because I haven't been playing in the games, but the organization, the Commanders themselves, have had a harder road to get to the 8-5 record than you did this year in comparison to the talent that you faced up with the 8 wins that you've had. Even though you could easily say that half of the Commanders' wins are in a similar light, for this situation in itself, you got to look at it for what it is and say, with C.J. Stroud, it's kind of been a little bit of a sophomore slump for him. You have to agree. And in this game, he did have 12 incompletions. He did throw for 242 yards and a touchdown, but we're used to seeing him be a little more mobile with his legs. And with that, he did have 5 carries, but only mustered up 7 yards on the ground. Joe Mixon, to me, was the saving grace with the run game that he established with 20 carries on the day, 101 yards and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 18 yards. But looking at Nico Collins, another great pickup for this team. You have to look at it for what he's meant to this organization in a short period of time that he's been there. 8 receptions, 119 yards in this game. You factor that in with the defense that, has been pretty underwhelming this year, that I would have to say, because that's D'Amico Ryan's bread and butter as a defense, and they only mustered up an interception by Derek Stingley. That's the part that I'm a little disappointed about. That I think besides some rough patches in the offense, the defense hasn't played up to the level of what they did last year. They've given up a lot of points already, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are hanging around when they shouldn't have even given up more than 10 points to them. So looking at it for what it is, especially with Trevor Lawrence getting knocked out early with the concussion, he was only 4 of 10 for 41 yards and an interception. Mac Jones comes in, and I think that if Lawrence is out for a considerable amount of time, you can see a little bit of a turnaround in how this Jaguars offense runs, because look at what he did. He only had 12 incompletions on 32 attempts, 235 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns passed. For that, along with Parker Washington having 6 receptions for 103 yards, and Brian Thomas Jr. having 4 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown, along with Cam Little's 2 field goals on 3 attempts, I'd say it was a pretty good game for them to capitalize on what could have been a potential upset. But unfortunately, their defense needs a lot more help than the Texans. And the Texans, I think they need to step it up if anybody wants to take them seriously, because they can skate into the playoffs. But it's not looking like they're going to be able to get outside the first round with how they've been playing against some of these subpar teams. And just like my brother Cole, I'm not quite sold on the Texans right now. Now moving on to our next game when it comes to the LA Rams. We got to look at this team going against New Orleans in New Orleans, that being the Saints, along with the fact that Matthew Stafford had 183 passing yards on only 14 completions. 2 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over, but that's pretty lackluster production out of a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you'd have to say. Looking outside of that, you got to look at Kieran Williams, 15 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown, I'd say was one of the decisive factors in this game because me being a favorite of establishing the run, when you look at how the flow of the offense went, it went all through the run game because along with Kieran Williams, the total offense for the Rams had 156 rushing yards. Absolutely video game against this New Orleans Saints team, but their defense has been playing like a bunch of dumpster Pelicans this year too. Got to give it to that. Blake Grupe, 2 field goals on 3 attempts for the Saints. I say probably was a star of their team because Derek Carr absolutely played pretty bad. 24-37 incompletions for a touchdown on the day goes Derek, mother, father, and Carr. I mean, come on now. Looking at that, you're only able to put up 14 points when you're completing passes at that ratio and only putting up 184 passing yards on the day. It was absolutely lackluster for this Saints team. Alvin Kamara, besides, with all that being said, he was the highlight for the Saints team, not the field goal kicker. I was joking. 23 carries for 112 yards on the day. When you put all that aside for him, I'd have to say that it's a pretty good performance for him. You'd have to give it to him for that moment. However, 23 carries, 112 yards. That performance is wasted when you're losing by 7 points and your offense can't really do anything around you. When you're a hybrid player who's your tight end / hybrid player that's not even like a receiver, like your emergency quarterback, Taysom Hill is your leading receiver with 37 yards on 5 receptions. It's absolutely terrible when you're putting that in perspective. So looking at it for what it is, I'd say this was don't you agree? Let's see what everybody else got to say out here in the chat. Dante's in the house, says, what's up, guys? What's up to my man Dante for being here, as well as Sick Diggy, still in the house, saying, by week 13 or 13 is when every game counts from here on. It's a make or break with each win or loss, respectively. And the Dallas Cowboys think they're still in the hunt. I'll get to that to touch up on what Cole said here in a little bit. But with all that being said, shout out to both of you for being here out in these streams. And, especially what's good to Dante and you there, Sick, for being here in the chat zone for Total Football Talk Extra. Go ahead and see you guys in the next game. Next one we have here, an overtime contest. This was a division rivalry, you would have to say. I mean, it hasn't really been competitive outside of this rivalry for the Panthers at certain points this year. They have mustered up 3 wins, but, besides, the start, you'd have to actually give praise to Bryce Young because in this game, he nearly threw for 300 yards, but he did have 20 incompletions out of 46 attempts. Bunker Mayfield, or Bunker Stayfield, as I like to call him, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He bunkered it up in this one. He had 12 incompletions on 33 attempts, 235 passing yards and a touchdown, but threw 2 interceptions. I'd say the saving grace for the Buccaneers winning this game 26-23 in overtime was Bucky Irving with 25 carries, 152 yards on the ground with a rushing touchdown. Also added 3 receptions for 33 yards. The Buccaneers offense, along with Irving, put up 236 rushing yards altogether, along with a great performance by Mike Evans. 8 receptions for 118 yards with a touchdown was huge. Chase McLaughlin, though, he had 4 field goals on the day out of 5 attempts with a long of 51. Had he made one of the one that, had he made the one that he missed earlier in the game, they wouldn't have had to go to overtime. But it's neither here nor there. We're back into this spot with the win for the Buccaneers. A loss, another one for this Panthers team. Will they get the number 1 overall pick again? I don't know. You got to ask the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. As I mean, in the New York Giants, respectively, too. I mean, to put some respect on their name, is they're all vying for that number 1 spot at this point with 2 wins. You know, the Patriots have their 3rd win. My apologies, but the Raiders and the Giants, I would say, are still in play for that number 1 overall pick. When you look at it for what it is, even though they were competitive against the Chiefs last week, and we talked about that on the last episode of Extra, this team still has a ways to go when you look at what they're capable of with the Raiders. And I know I went a little off track, but looking at the Buccaneers for what they did in this game, it was a little bit of back and forth action. You know, at halftime, it was tied up 10-10. And it ended regulation with the tie at 23-23. Going into overtime, we thought, could the Panthers potentially win this? But not until the coin toss went in the favor of the Buccaneers. Chase McLaughlin nails the 30-yard field goal to win the game 26-23 for the Buccaneers. Now, what Sick Dicky has to say, they're going back and forth out here with Dante and Sick. Says, what's good, Sick? I'm good, man. As well as that fumble at the end lost Panthers the game. Yes, you know, that fumble at the end, but you also got to look at the missed field goal that the Buccaneers had earlier with McLaughlin. Had they not missed that field goal, they wouldn't have even had to be in that position. I mean, the lost fumble would have made a difference, but they would have lost it. The game would have been over, and there would have been no overtime at that point. They ended up going to overtime, and here we are. So, but the game ended the way that it did, as well as Six saying Baker Mayfield did not have a good game. He owes Chase McLaughlin for saving his embarrassments with the 2 fumbles and the interceptions. McLaughlin redeemed himself in overtime. He did, and that's what it's all about. You get a little redemption time, and that's what he did. He made the best of it. And looking at it for what it is, McLaughlin is the hero for the Bucs. Bunker Stayfield bunkered it up, but he was saved by the running game that set up the field goal kicker, that being McLaughlin, for those field goals, and that's why we have the game ending the way that it did. Now let's move on to the Sunday night contest, a game that was going on in the blizzard. Josh Allen put up 4 total touchdowns, had 148 passing yards on 13 completions out of 17 attempts, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions in the snow, which is what I thought was absolutely sweet. You know, he didn't have any turnovers, but he does have the home field advantage. He has played in the snow before, but the snow was coming down if you guys were watching this game. He also added 3 carries for 18 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And on top of that, as opposed to a lateral pass that he received, at a 7-yard receiving touchdown, altogether accumulating for 4 total touchdowns. Him and James Cook, combined had 5, as James Cook had 14 carries for 107 yards in the snow with a rushing touchdown, and also added a reception for 13 yards. This game, when you look at the Bills' offense at 220 rushing yards, was absolutely wild in the snow. The snow was still coming down throughout this game, and the Bills just didn't look back. Early on, they took the lead, and they just kept going and going and going. It was not quite like the Commanders game, but very similar in feel, where once the team got the little bit of a lead, there was no turning back. There's no way the 49ers were coming back. Christian McCaffrey went down with looks like a PCL injury. Still a little bit of a timetable for that return, but could be 4 weeks. They make the playoffs. He could come back for a playoff run if that's what it is. But the man had tendonitis in both of his legs. Has had a rough year altogether. He needs to shut it down, I believe, for the rest of this season. Reevaluate during the offseason, get his health back together, and then come back next year strong to try to finish his career in a good note. He's going to keep running himself into the ground if he keeps playing at this point. And especially in these conditions like there was last night in this game, I'd have to say that Christian McCaffrey, I feel for you, bud. And hopefully you can get things turned around here soon. And Sick also says, hats off to the Bills Mafia. They were that 12th man in that game. In fact, the weather was the 13th man for that matter. It was, especially for affecting the other team. It was like the 12th man on the defense and the 13th because it kept smacking the 49ers in the face. That nice weather over there in San Fran, it spoiled them a little bit too much before they came on over to Buffalo. Dante says it was a fun game to watch, but San Fran needed another back. Yeah, they do. They need Mason had been doing pretty well earlier on in the year, filling in for McCaffrey, but for looking at it for what it is, without McCaffrey, this team definitely does not have the talent in the running attack to lead themselves to a playoff push to the Super Bowl again. Even to a Super Bowl loss, not even have the right team altogether, the chemistry, the flow, everything to make a Super Bowl run right now. The 49ers need a lot of help, and it's not going to come in time for the postseason. So even if they make it and they squeak by, just like the Texans in the AFC, and skate into the playoffs, it's not going to be a deep run for them. They'll be one and done. Six says it was the snow, and even more snow at a total blizzard in Buffalo. It absolutely was. It's like a Dr. Seuss right there. Sick, that rhymed. Do you think it's time for a rebuild for the 49ers? Yes. I don't know about the coach. There's some rumors about potentially the coach going. I don't think that's necessary at this time, but as far as certain positions, Debo with the money that he wants, I think it's time that he might need to leave and make some other moves in other departments too. We shall have to see. We shall have to see if that comes about right here and now. Keep those comments going, fellas. We'll keep on rocking and rolling as we still have some other games to tend to for this recap of this past week. But yes, we now have to talk about two big games from this past holiday weekend. And first, we got to take it to the upset of the week. Here with the upset of the week, we got to look at another road win by another team that's trying to take the division in the NFC East, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles getting the upset win over the Baltimore Ravens this past weekend. Jalen Hurts, 11-19, 118 passing yards with a touchdown. Did all that as well as 9 carries for 29 yards and a rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley, though, tipped the scales for this one. 23 carries, 107 rushing yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Also added 2 receptions for 10 yards in the air. Eagles offense, 140 rushing yards altogether. Lamar Jackson didn't have any turnovers, but had 13 incompletions. It felt like there was some turnovers in there the way some of them went. 237 passing yards, 8 carries for 79 yards on the day. Along with King Henry, Derrick Henry going for 19 carries, 82 rushing yards, 3 receptions for 29 yards as well. You know, we look at that game, a 5-point loss by the Ravens. And I'd say Saquon Barkley tipped the scales, but you also say another part tipped the scales for this game, and that was Justin Tucker missing 2 of 4 field goals. He did have a long of those 2 completions of 50 yards, but someone that we used to think of as Mr. Automatic missing 2 field goals on the day, which could have been a total of 6 points added to the score, and you would have won by 1 point at the end had that happened. A total of 25-24. Didn't happen because Justin Tucker missed 2 mother-fathering field goals. It sucks for Ravens fans. It sucks for this Ravens team, especially when they're trying to keep up with the Pittsburgh Steelers in that division, with Pittsburgh getting a big win this past weekend. They're continuing to roll throughout this league. You know, their defense was struggling. They gave up 6. They only won by 6 points, and they gave up 38 total points, that being the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're up 9-3 in their division. And when you compare that to the Ravens, who are 8-5, they've got 2 more losses than the Steelers. It's not looking good as the Steelers have a bye week that's coming up. They'll get a little bit of a breather. But right here and now, this Baltimore Ravens team needs to step it up because it is not going to be in their favor when it comes to a playoff run for a division win and for good seeding if they do not get some wins under their belt, especially with the Steelers coming up again and some other divisional opponents that we'll be breaking down here soon. Just not feeling good about the Ravens at this point. When I said before, when they beat the Commanders earlier in a few weeks back, I said this team is going to win the division, and I was wrong at that point because the Steelers have proven that defense to be true until this game against the Bengals. But when it comes to the Ravens and this upset loss to the Eagles, I don't really think it's so much of an upset for the Eagles winning, because you can say that with the talent, they should be winning and they should be at the record they're at right now. But the Ravens and Justin Tucker, Mr. Automatic, could we be seeing the last year of him as an NFL kicker and being part of the Baltimore Ravens? I think it's possible. You're missing 2 key field goals against a playoff contending team. And that could have been the decisive factor, and you could have won by 1. I would say this right here, I have to agree with Cole, is our pick for the upset of the week. So what do you guys think? See what you got here in the comments. Dante and Sick are still lighting it up. Michael's also in the house. Michael says, in my 60 years of watching football, have never seen a dominant football player as Josh Allen. So let me ask you this. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan, Michael? I mean, that's a good question to ask you on the other side. I'm not throwing any shade. I would say Josh Allen was definitely a steal for them where he got him. And once he gets to a Super Bowl and wins one and can do something that Jim Kelly couldn't do, I will give you that. But I just feel like this team is cursed, and because they have not been able to utilize some other great years that they had. Stephon Diggs was there, and I guess if they win it now or next year, one of the next 2 years, we could say that it was Stephon Diggs that might have held them back. But when it comes to this team right here in Buffalo, I think I really like what I'm seeing. And they right now, I would like to see them in Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship and would like to see Josh Allen make it to the Super Bowl. It's time to see somebody else besides the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Even though they've been doing what they've been doing this year, they've been squeaking by with wins. But when it comes to Josh Allen and what he did in the snow last night was video game. He didn't even have to have 200 passing yards and still lit it up because he had a rushing touchdown and he had a receiving touchdown. Absolutely phenomenal performance by Josh Allen, which is why he's on the thumbnail cover of tonight's Total Football Talk Extra episode. So shout out to Michael for being out here in the comments. If you are a new viewer, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel that you are watching this on. A rebuild at Dante Hill, says Sick Diggy. More like a much needed overhaul of over wrong in Santa Clara, California. There's going to be much needed reevaluation for the 49ers. I agree with that, Sick. I like it. Upset when I'm lost, y'all keep sleeping on the defense and y'all going to find out. I'm just saying, Dante, look, I know you are a fan of this team, and I give you praise. You deserve to be NFC East, the number ones right now. I give you the number one right now. As long as we can be the number twos and get the wild card spot and get a wild card win, maybe face you and give you some good contest. But I will say that in this matchup, the defense of the Ravens let themselves down and the special teams let them down. Justin Tucker should have made those 2 field goals, man, and you know it and I know it. He has been, if you've been playing Madden for a while, he has been one of the best kickers on Madden for the last decade, okay? Now you look at him now at this point. Adam Vinatieri didn't have this type of drop-off. He was still kicking field goals in his mid to late 40s. I think he was 47, like 46, 47, 48 when he was last in the NFL for the Colts. Justin Tucker is not even 40 yet. And kickers take care of themselves. They can get to that point to where they're kicking into their 40s, early 40s at least, late 30s. Justin Tucker's still not quite there yet, and I have a lot more faith in him to be able to kick those field goals. Now, it's still good on you to get the win. I'm with you on the fact that the defense did their job in stopping them. But Justin Tucker shouldn't be missing those field goals, bro. You and I both know it. Let's sit back on that. Good afternoon, good evening, Michael, says Sick Diggy. Over everything that's wrong in Santa Clara, California. There we go. You were correcting it, and I was trying to correct it in mid-speech. Lamar comes up short in big games, but the Eagles are for real the best team in the league with Detroit injuries. My man Hawk will actually contest that a little bit, Dante, and with what the Lions have been doing without Aiden Hutchinson, it's been pretty remarkable. Now, the past couple of games, they have been skating by, but I still have the Lions as the threat in the NFC to take the NFC right now. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of the Commanders or cover the Commanders or any shade thrown at the Eagles whatsoever. Not doing that. I'm saying that because of what I've seen through their overall offense with Gibbs and Montgomery, the 1-2 punch over there for the running backs. What I'm seeing out of Amon-Ra St. Brown and his also supporting cast over there and receivers as well. Some no names that have been making a name this year. And looking at this team for what it is. I like the culture they've built over there with the Lions. Your coach needs to keep his mouth shut certain points and stop jabbering with the fans, going back and forth with the fans. Nick needs to shut it up because we were just talking about a month ago if he was going to lose his job this year or not. Okay. So yes, your defense is for real. Your offense, it can be for real too. Your offense was what got you the damn Super Bowl a couple years ago. All right. But here and now, I like the Lions a little more than the Eagles at this point still. There's still 4 more weeks left in the season that I can change my mind. And by the end of the year, by the end of the season, there's 5 more games actually. There's 5 more weeks after tonight. Starting Thursday, there's 5 more weeks left in the NFL. I could change my opinion, but as of right now, through 13 weeks, and we still have a game that's going on live right now as the Broncos are up 21-10 with 1 minute and 38 seconds left in the first half. 21-10. Browns look like they're going to fall to 3-9. The Broncos could be a playoff team this year as we are live right now for Total Football Talk. But I hear you, Dante, but at the same time, my man Hawk he would definitely contest that. Justin Tucker's 35 years old. He eventually has to wind down and call it a career. Will it be in Baltimore? Only time will tell. Yes, because field goal kickers definitely usually bounce around before the end. Vinatieri left the Patriots somewhat in his prime to take more money, and it worked out for him because he got another Super Bowl and then appeared in yet another because he appeared in a total of 4 for the Patriots, winning the 3 with Tom Brady, losing the 1 in the 90s with Drew Bledsoe. And then he won the 1 with Peyton Manning in 2006 and then lost the 1 in 2009 with them as well. But he had an expletive of a career, and he still only managed to only play for 2 teams. A lot of field goal kickers are on multiple teams, like 3 and 4 and 5 teams before they call it a career because that position is more expendable as they get older because nobody wants to pay a field goal kicker $10+ million, especially when they're in their late 30s to early 40s. Because you see here with Justin Tucker, what's happening is he's fallen off, and now you're not getting the production out of Justin Tucker that you need to get on this game as he misses 2 big field goals, and the Eagles win, I would say, because of those 2 field goals. I'm sorry, Dante. I got to give it where I see it. Buffalo wins over names. Yeah, I mean, it could. The Bills looking promising this season. However, regular season football and playoffs postseason football are 2 different animals. Absolutely. Look at what Peyton Manning was doing for several years and was, the champion of the regular season. And it took him 9 years to win a Super Bowl. So we see that a lot all the time. Michael says, no, I'm not a Buffalo fan, but I don't think of Josh Allen as a quarterback. I think of him as a real football player all around. I bet he could play any position. It's his attitude that makes him. I like that answer right there. I like that response to my question. Very, very great response there, Michael. Definitely hope that you have subscribed so we can get more feedback from you throughout the rest of these episodes we have over time, because this is the type of feedback right here that I like to hear while I'm live on these shows. Normally it's Monday morning that we're live from 11 a.m. Eastern time to about 2 p.m. I'm doing this special edition because I missed this morning's episode, and I actually would be at work right now, but I'm on PTO today, so taking advantage of utilizing the content, making extra content for both Cole and myself for our platforms, and also this combined with the other episode I'm putting together to send off to our radio affiliates to play this throughout the next couple of days as scheduled. So shout out to you guys for helping me with that content creation. I appreciate it. As well as Dante and Sick, you guys, I appreciate y'all as well. It wouldn't have mattered if he made the kicks. We called off the Dogs' last 6 minutes. I mean, yes, I mean, you did lighten it up a little bit. You know, you could have seen some better performance out of your team at that point. But I'm saying, Dante, I'm just from watching this Ravens team, from watching a lot of their games, because I've got that NFL subscription where you can go back and watch the entirety of the games, the condensed version. You can watch certain games live. Like if you're on the go and can't be at your house or whatever app you're watching it on or whatever. And I've got the NFL app that you pay it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month and you can watch this stuff. And I'm telling you from watching the highlighted version of the game that it just feels like that with those two missed kicks, it turned the tide for this game. Now, you as the fan, I get it. I get it where you're coming from. I'm just still happy for you getting the win. You as my boy, even though you're a fan of the other team, that's a rivalry of mine, I'm happy for you that you're still having a good year, because when we were having these episodes earlier on, there was a point where it wasn't looking that good for you, and it was looking great for my team. Still looking pretty decent for my team. If they can make it to the playoffs as a wild card, I'm happy. Hell, the fact they've won, twice the amount of games they won last year, I'm happy with that too. So I'm just happy both of our teams are playing well, that the Cowboys still suck, and that we're the top two teams of the division. I'm happy with that. So I can see with that. Perhaps this was just an off night for Tucker. Perhaps in the next game he'll redeem himself, says Sick Diggy. We'll see. But this is not the first rough game he's had this year. Go back and look at his stats. You being my Tony Reale of this show out here in the chat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Go look at what he's done over the course of these games that he's played in. I mean, he's played in 13 games already. Go look at what Justin Tucker has done through 13 games to come back to the chat and tell me if he has the odds in his favor to redeem himself over the last 4 games that they have to play, because they're 8-5. They have a bye week. It's coming up. You will see right here. Dante says, us in Washington will knock them out the playoffs. I'm telling you, I've seen that story before. I love it. I love all these comments you guys are throwing out there, man. Definitely racking them up. Keep them coming, because we have a dumpster Pelican game going on right now for Monday Night Football. 21-10, the Broncos still lead over the Browns with 35 seconds left in the game. Broncos looking to improve to 8-5. Browns looking to fall back to get a top 5 pick, I think, at this point. Browns may do that with a 9th loss tonight. But now that we've gone through the upset of the week for the opening drive, let's go ahead and take it into our now situation that we have, the game of the week. And the game of the week is as follows. So we take a look at the game that happened between two teams I was talking about earlier, Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. High-scoring contest is why we've got it as the game of the week. And this was the team I was talking about that's giving the Ravens fits over that in the AFC North division. You got to take a look at it for what it is, man. I'm telling you, Browns definitely don't have a chance. We've been laughing at them all year. But the Ravens and the Steelers have been the top 2 teams of that division, and you have to look at what the Ravens have done over the past few weeks. They've been falling off in different points. They've been getting King Henry going at certain situations, but not to the extent that the Steelers have been getting their offense engineered by Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has been engineering this offense to perfection at certain points. He has turned the ball over a little bit, but not as much as Justin Fields did, and sure is not as expletive as much as Kenny Pickett was doing last year. There's a reason why he's not there, and why there's 2 quarterbacks there on 1-year deals. Now let's take a look at these 2 quarterbacks that we have right here. Quarterbacks that we have in this game between these two, we got Joe Burrow, you've got Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson put up 414 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. He did turn the ball over once, which probably is the reason why the game was as close as it was, with a 6-point contest at the end. but they still won 44-38 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow put up 309 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, completed 28 passes on 38 attempts, and did have an interception as well. The big stat line for him and the offense that was fumbling it around, literally, because he had 2 carries for 9 yards, and those 2 carries that he had 2 lost fumbles. You run a few yards, you fumble. You run a few more yards, you fumble. This is what we saw out of Joe Burrow in this game. That is how it felt like on those 2 different drives. Joe Burrow needs to tighten it up. It's not completely his fault why this Bengals team has been struggling this year, why they got off to the slow start. He is part to blame, but there is a lot of other players around him. There's 11 people around him. 10 other people around him on offense. He is the 11th person, the quarterback, the engineer of this offense. And you look at that all together at this team for where they're at this point. They should be a playoff contender. They should be a team that is dominating the rest of the league, kind of like what the Bills are doing. They've had that kind of hype. But the Bills have not played as bad in certain spots when people were throwing shade on them like the Bengals have played, to where they're 4-8 at this point. That's why I have to give Michael credit out here in the chat, because talking about Josh Allen as a difference maker for a team, and especially when you look at him as an overall player and not just a quarterback, Joe Burrow is not that for the Bengals. And he had all the hype in the world coming out of college in that national championship as to he was going to do that for the Bengals. I have to give him credit. In a very short period, within 2 years, he led that team to a Super Bowl. But there's other pieces around him that this organization, the management, have failed to retain. And I wouldn't really say necessarily retain, but add to, because they're 4-8 right now for a reason. Also, the coaching might need to be adjusted at the end of this year, because I still feel like with the talent they have, they were going to struggle this year a little bit, but not to this point. I could see them being 6-6 at this point, but not 4 games under 500. No, this is absolutely terrible if you're a fan of the Bengals. Absolutely terrible if you're just a fan of football watching this for what it is. Now, they did look competitive in this divisional contest. I would give the Bengals that. But the Steelers' defense, for as good as they've been this year, looked a little blown up in this game. The offense was definitely on point, with Russell Wilson throwing for 400 yards. Najee Harris garnering up 75 rushing yards on 16 carries with 1 rushing touchdown. And then, of course, you've got the number 1 star over there for your wide receivers, George Pickens, hauling in 74 receiving yards on just 3 receptions with the receiving touchdown. Steelers, though, they're in your face. They're ready to rock and roll. And it's good to see that in one game they were able to depend on their offense to make up for their lackluster defense instead of vice versa, because for a while, for the past couple of years, even throughout the ugly times when they still managed to not have a losing record under Mike Tomlin, those wins they were coming back with, it was because of their defense. And now that they have someone like Russell Wilson, they just need to have consistency, because you don't know if you're going to get it from Justin Fields ever. But at least for this year, if he can continue to play at this level, this Steelers team could surprise you and end up in the Super Bowl. They could at least surprise you and end up playing in the AFC Championship, we'll say that, against the Bills. And then I think the Bills take it there and win the AFC Championship and go to the Super Bowl if it's that matchup. I just like what Josh Allen can do, and especially with seeing the ability for a team that's playing lackluster this year like the Bengals to blow up that Steelers defense. You have to give credit to the Bengals for doing that, for stepping their game up, and at least taking advantage of the miscues of the defense. Here and now, I'm concerned a little bit for the Steelers beyond the AFC Championship, but I still think they have a road to the AFC Championship. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl after seeing this, even though they won. But seeing the way that it happened this past game, it was the game of the week because of the performance by the 2 teams. But what concerns me for the Steelers team is the fact that they barely snubbed it out against a team that is obviously not going to make a competitive push for the playoffs this year, because I don't see the Bengals winning these last 5 weeks, all 5 games, and finishing 9-8. And even if they do, and just squeak in as the 7 seed, they're going to be too banged up from having to win those 5 consecutive games and go all out. It's just not possible. It's not feasible, in my opinion. And that's how I feel when it comes to this game of the week. Let's see what we've got here for the comments. When it comes to the comments, Dante says, us in Washington will knock them out the playoffs. I'm telling you, I've seen that story before. Russell was unreal. I feel bad for Cincinnati. A lot of talent on offense, absolutely no defense. But Russell was incredible. He was. He absolutely was. Cincinnati's defense leaks like a sleeve, so I'm not impressed with the Steelers on the offensive side. Cincinnati's offense scoring against the Steelers defense. Yes. I mean, looking at that, man, that's a great point. I mean, it leaks. It really does. It leaks like a sleeve, the Cincinnati defense. And that offense, they're not consistent enough to even put up that amount of points every single week. So that's why the Cincinnati Bengals team is in trouble, and I just cannot take seriously for any type of push this year. Do you fire Zach Taylor? I mean, those slow starts kill them. It really does, and they've been doing that every year under his tenure. I mean, it's still better than what Marvin Lewis is doing at the end of his tenure, but it's not looking good for the Bengals and Zach Taylor at all. It's really not. Can't wait to shut Pittsburgh down like the Bengals and Ravens. It's going to be nice, and I think that you can. I know you can against the Bengals. The Ravens, that's going to be a tough matchup, again. But I think you guys can do it. You just did it. And I don't think you're going to see them again in the playoffs. But I think that at some point down the road, you shall do that again there, Dante, because right here and now, it could have been a preview for the Super Bowl, but I just don't think it is. I don't see the Ravens making the Super Bowl. And, right now it's up for you and the Lions in the NFC. And I still have the nod to the Lions. No offense. Steelers defense looks legit, but Cincinnati's offense is equally legit. Yeah, but you got to be able to stop the bleeding at some point. If it's back and forth, eventually it's going to end with somebody on top with 6 or 7 points, and that's exactly what happened in this game. So I hear you, but they needed help on defense since that appearance in the Super Bowl, and that's where they've been lacking, along with injuries on offense that help them remain inconsistent. They need some positive help now. And it's going to probably have to happen in 2025 because I don't see that turning around happening this year. We play Pittsburgh in 2 weeks or 3. Yep, it's coming up. But the Ravens you just played, I just don't think that you're going to play them again in the playoffs. Even if you do make it to the Super Bowl and beat the Lions in the NFC Championship, I think you're going to face the Bills. That's my pick right now for the AFC conference. And I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. Go ask Cole. We can talk about it when we get back together later this week. But right now, that does it for the opening drive. Let's go ahead and take it into the Grand Champ of the Week and break down who my pick and Cole's was for the Grand Champ of the Week.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Quick.
Total Football Talk Extra.
Where my dogs at? Well, there's only me on this show right now, so I guess I'm the only dog to talk about the dogs on this show. But when it comes to the Grand Champ of the Week, I'm going to give you Cole's pick for his Grand Champ of the Week, and that was Russell Wilson with 29 of 38 out of completions for attempts, 414 passing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns, along with an interception. That is a solid choice for Grand Champ of the Week, that being for my man, Cole Johnson, the EP of all EPs. And we got to take a look at James Cook for an honorable mention. That's my honorable mention pick for the Grand Champ of the Week. 14 carries, 107 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown for James Cook. But my number one pick for Grand Champ of the Week, Bucky Irving, 25 carries, 152 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. Also added 3 receptions for 33 yards on the day. He saved his bunkered up team from Baker Mayfield, a.k.a. Bunker Stayfield. And those are our picks for the Grand Champ of the Week. Let's go ahead and take this into the Snowflake of the Week.
Total Football Talk Extra.
Oh, yeah. It's that time for the Snowflake of the Week. And Cole's pick for the Snowflake of the Week was Dallas Cowboy fans. Go back and check out Total Football Talk's episode from this morning, episode 66, to see his take on why they are his pick for the Snowflake of the Week. My honorable mention for Snowflake of the Week is Daniel Motherfathering Carlson. 1 out of 4 for field goals this past week. Lost the game for his team. Look at how this Raiders team barely lost 19-17 to the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. And this is what happens by your field goal kicker. 1 out of 4 for attempts in this game. He should be ashamed of himself in this contest. I mean, he's the reason why they lost the game. That's why I had to put him at the honorable mention. They lost by 2. He missed 3 field goals that could have been a total of 9 points added for this team. And he looks stupid with that hat on. That's how I feel about Daniel Carlson and why he is the Snowflake of the Week. Honorable mention for this week. But my number one pick for Snowflake of the Week is Aaron Rodgers and this New York Jets team that fell to 3-9 on the season. At this point, he was 21-39 out of completions, 4 attempts, 185 passing yards. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but he also threw a pretty big interception. Is this too much ayahuasca for Captain Planet, a.k.a. the Space Cadet, what my man Cole Johnson likes to call him? He is my choice for the Snowflake of the Week. And let's go ahead and take it into the 2-minute drill and see what I've got on tap for that 2-minute situation. Even though I don't have the little button to click. Oh, no, the 2-minute drill button. Oh, wait, here it is, I think. No. Oh, yeah, it is. I had to find it because I moved it. I'll cut this part out. You are watching live.
Total Football Talk Extra.
All right. So before we get to the 2-minute drill, we got a few more comments I want to acknowledge here real quick. Michael says, I feel like we'll find out if the Bills are legit when they play the Lions. I mean, it's a really good test for them. I really wish Aiden Hutchinson was healthy and still with this Lions defense, because that would be a really true test. And even though the Lions made a couple moves before the trade deadline, after that, they didn't acquire anybody to fill the void of Aiden Hutchinson. They do have a really, really solid defense that was built around Aiden Hutchinson, which is why I feel like they're going to be okay and still have a really good chance to make it to the Super Bowl if their offense continues to play well. Jared Goff can't throw 5 interceptions like he did a couple weeks ago, but he still found a way to win the game. So, but against a really good opponent in the playoffs, that's not going to work. So Jared Goff has to remain consistent for my prediction to ring true. My grand champ is Russell. I don't think no team stops him on Sunday. And hey, I mean, I give you that because Cole had the same pick. This is exactly Cole's pick for the grand champ of the week. So it's not a bad pick. I just had to give somebody different. My choice is Bucky Motherfathering Irvin with an honorable mention of James Motherfathering Cook. Now, back to the next comment. As Dante also says, Snowflake of the Week is the Bears. I mean, come on. If you go back to Total Football Talk Extra from last Saturday, I actually had Matt Eberflus, the Bears, and Caleb Williams as my choices for those snowflakes of the week. I might actually still have that graphic here on the computer. Let me see. TFT Snowflake of the Week. I think that's what it was. I don't think it was the honorable mention. I think it was actually the Snowflake of the Week. Yeah, this is my pick from last week. Last Saturday. So I'm with you on that. But I'd already covered that game in that episode. So the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, and Matt Eberflus were my choices from the episode from a couple of days ago. So yes, I'm with you on that. But because I'd already had some other pick and there were some other games to cover, I had to make a new choice. And it gave me a little bit more time with the graphic making. So let me know how those graphics are coming. Am I doing all right? Am I cooking all right out here in these streams? You tell me. Trying to catch to my man Cole Johnson, the EP of all EPs, and just make him happy out here with what I'm trying to do with our production together. Daniel Carlson had a complete disaster of a game, but at least he wasn't as bad as Aaron Rodgers. The latter needs to hang it up, which is why I gave him the honorable mention. I was like, I'll give Daniel Carlson the honorable mention right here for that. But when it comes to the actual snowflake of the week, yes, had to give it to the ayahuasca sipping space cadet that Cole Johnson likes to call him. So, that being said, you guys are rocking and rolling with these comments. I greatly appreciate you staying here with me and liking and sharing this video right here and subscribing to Sertoba Media, as well as if you're watching on the other platforms like Comey Media out there. Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. We're getting it done. And I'll give you a preview of some other things before this episode ends. But right now, it is time to take it officially into the 2-minute drill.
Acknowledge me.
Yes, but we're going to the 2-minute drill right now.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, so with 2-minute drill, let's go ahead and preview the games that we have that are upcoming for this week 14. Yes, there is a game that's going on right now. And that game is between the Broncos and the Browns. It is at halftime. The Broncos are up 21-17, as we have discussed in this episode. But taking it into the 2-minute drill for this upcoming week, we have to look at the games that are happening this weekend. This Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and say with the Monday game, before I go into Thursday, I think the Broncos are definitely going to finish this one out with a victory over the Browns and improve to 8-5. And the Browns fall to 3-9 to give my official prediction before the game ends.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now moving on to our Thursday game. The Green Bay Packers, 9-3, taking on the Detroit Lions, who are 11-1. This is another division contest. The Packers have been a sleeper team for a playoff team this year until recently people have been starting to pay attention to them. I think they're going to give the Lions a little bit of fits, but the Lions still find a way to get it here and improve to 12-1. I think they learned a lot from their one loss they suffered a little while ago, and they need this division win against the Packers. They're going to get it. It's going to be a close game. I feel like they're going to win by 7 points or less, but the Lions are my pick to win this week.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Moving on to the Sunday games. That was our Thursday game. Let's go on to Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on CBS. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-10, take on the lowly Tennessee Titans, just as equally lowly as the Jaguars. They are 3-9. They just have one more win than the other team. But hey, they're still playing like dumpster Pelicans. It's going to be the toilet bowl of the day. Jaguars feel like they're going to find a way to win this game as they should have won this past weekend. They'll improve to 3-10. The Tennessee Titans will fall to 3-10, and that is my choice for the victor and victorless for this game.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Moving on to the New York Jets, who are 3-9, taking on the Miami Dolphins in Florida, in Miami, who are 5-7, that being the Dolphins. The Dolphins need this win to give them, Tua, Mike McDaniel, that entire organization some hope, because there is no hope left for the Jets. The Jets will fall to 3-10. The Dolphins will improve to 6-7 during this 1 o'clock contest.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
The Atlanta Falcons, 6-6, taking on the Minnesota Vikings, who are 10-2. On Fox, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. The Falcons have been playing very subpar this year when you think about the hype that they have been, the hype that they have had this year, and the preseason, the offseason leading up to, and even throughout the first month. Now we're at the point to where this team is 6-6, taking on a Minnesota Vikings team that Kirk Cousins previously played for. And they're playing better without him than they were at this point last year. 10-2 are the Vikings. Vikings playing at home. I think Kirk Cousins gets handed a little bit of a reality check as the Vikings improve to 11-2, and the Falcons fall to 6-7.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Our next game that we have on the slate, the New Orleans Saints, 4-8 on the year, take on the New York Giants, who are 2-10 at home. Fox has this game at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. This, I feel like, is going to be completely and the Giants are not going to win this game. I feel like New Orleans is going to improve, if you want to call it that, to 5-8, because they have been playing very lackluster this year. Derek Carr will still probably throw for less than 200 yards, and they will find a way to win this mother-fathering game.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Moving on to the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-9, traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, who are now 10-2. This game is on Fox. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time is the time for this game. I feel like the Eagles are going to mollywop the Panthers, improve to 11-2. Panthers fall to 3-10 and still have a really good chance of getting a top 3 pick in this upcoming draft.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Our next game that we have here, Cleveland Browns, who were 3-8 at this point, but looking to be 3-9 after tonight's contest with the Broncos. Travel to Pittsburgh to take on the 9-3 Steelers. CBS has this game at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this game, proven to 10-3. The Browns at this point will fall to 3-10. And that is my prediction for this division matchup. I mean, can you blame me? Look at how bad the Browns have been playing. Look at how they're playing tonight at this point. Even though they're losing by 4 points at the start of the third quarter, they absolutely suck, and you know it.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Come on. Did you think I was going to say something else? No! Look at the Browns. Look at what they've been doing. Let's take them for how they are. Now, the last 1 o'clock game that we have for this Sunday, Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-10, take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 6-6 at this point. CBS has this game at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, improving to 7-6 at this point because of who they're playing. The Raiders look like they're going to try to either get Travis Hunter or Shadur Sanders. More than likely Shadur Sanders, because they need a really good quarterback to start and build fresh with. Very similar to how the Commanders did with Jaden Daniels for this year. I think they're still going to push for him, considering that Tom Brady is a part owner and the Sanders family has that relationship with Tom Brady. It's going to be good for Shadur. It's going to be good for the Sanders family. It's going to be good for the Raiders organization. But right now, a loss is what's great for this organization. So that way they can get one step closer to building. Will they try to get the loss? No, but they will get served this by the Buccaneers. You know it, and I know it. That's how it's going to be. Buccaneers will still give you some hope for a playoff team. The Raiders absolutely have no chance, but they do have a chance at getting the number 1 overall pick and getting one step closer to that as a result from this game.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now we have to go to the 4 o'clock games. We've got 3 of them. The first one at 4:05, the last 2 at 4:25. But the first one at 4:05, the Seattle Seahawks, who are 7-5, travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals in this division contest. Cardinals are 6-6. CBS has this game again at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. The Seahawks have been squeaking by with Geno Smith to be 2 games under 500. Okay. And the Cardinals, at certain points, have proven to me that they are a pretty good team on the rebound from a tough year last year. New coaching staff. They tried to make a big splash with the draft pick with Marvin Harrison Jr. He hasn't been consistent at certain points. They still need a little bit of help, I think, in order to make a serious push next year or the year after. But I still think they're in contention. I think the Seahawks will get beaten on the road at Arizona. Arizona will improve to 7-6, and Seattle will fall to 7-6. They'll still be neck and neck as part of the top tier teams of that division, and a division that's pretty competitive at this point. I'm giving the nod to Arizona here at home, and I think they're going to beat Seattle based on the style of play I've seen from Arizona at certain points in this year, and I just have a little bit more belief in them at home than the Seahawks at this point.
Who's giving them the business?
Our next 4:00 p.m. game is actually at 4:25. The first of two games that are at 4:25. The Buffalo Bills, who we were just talking about earlier, who are now 10-2 after that blizzard game that they had last night for Sunday Night Football, take on the Los Angeles Rams in L.A. The Rams 6-6 and need a win in order to stay alive in the playoff hunt. Now, playing the Buffalo mother-fathering Bills. You really think, after what I've seen from you, LA Rams, that you have a chance, that you have a mother-fathering chance at beating the Buffalo Bills in your own home stadium? Your stadium's nice. I like it. Would like to attend it at some point. But I don't think that you have a chance at beating the Buffalo Bills, especially after what we saw last night and what we've seen throughout the entirety of this season. I'm going with Buffalo winning this game on the road, proving to 11-2. The Rams fall into 6-7. Now, I'm sorry there, Matt Stafford, but I'm picking you to lose in this game.
Who's giving them the business?
Our next game, our last of the 4:00 games, this one at 4:25 as well. The Chicago Bears, who are 4-8, travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, who are now 5-7. This game on Fox again at 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. Bears have not been performing well since that Hail Mary game against the Commanders. Commanders, who are on bye this week, yes, but the Bears are still affecting them one way or another, whether you like it or not. They are. And they're taking on a team, and the 49ers just had a tough loss on Sunday Night Football. I think the 49ers are going to give their fans a little bit of hope. They're going to give the football experts and, the naysayers a little bit of hope too, to give them a little bit more shade throughout a playoff potential run or a playoff appearance. And they're going to win here. Doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be one step closer to 500. They'll be 6-7. The Bears will fall to 4-9 and will, I believe, after the season is said and done, have another top 5 pick in this upcoming draft.
Who's giving them the business?
And now to the Sunday 8:00 p.m. game, the 8:20 p.m. kickoff between the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 8-4, traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who are 11-1. Best record in football between them and the Detroit Lions. You got to give them the credit for where it's due as the top 2 records, but the Lions are a much better team, in my opinion, than the Chiefs, even though they are the back-to-back defending 2-time reigning champions of the Super Bowl realm of the NFL and professional football. I can't take the credit away from them, but for some reason, based on the performance that I saw against the Raiders, and even though they're not perfect at this point, they're not 12-0, they have lost a game, I just feel like they're due to lose another one, and I feel like it would be a continued build for the momentum and the motivation and the will of this Chargers team that has been led in a better direction this year than they have been led in previous years under Brandon Staley. Don't even get me started with that guy again, okay? But I feel like they have a chance. I feel like the Chargers have a real mother-fathering chance to win this upcoming game on the road in Arrowhead. Yes, Arrowhead can get loud. It's going to be cold. Chargers play in warm weather, but the Chargers have proven that they can contend with other teams. And I'm giving them their credit where it's due. only way that they lose this game is if the refs are on the side of the Chiefs, which is very, very possible. We'll see. We'll see if that happens for this game. But I have Jim Harbaugh leading the Chargers to a victory in Arrowhead this Sunday at 8:20 p.m. Eastern.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Considering we'll be back on the air with Total Football Talk, the big show, Monday morning, and I will have Total Football Talk Extra again this weekend, either Friday or Saturday, haven't decided yet, to recap tonight's game between the Browns and the Broncos and this upcoming Thursday's game that we will have between the Packers and the Lions. I will be recapping those two, and I may give a little bit more additional takes when it comes to my preview with the 2-minute drill then. But right here and now, that is how I'm feeling when it comes to the 2-minute drill for this episode.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And before we move into the last segment, I want to go ahead and acknowledge the comments before we go any further. Got Daniel Carlson, and we talked about that before. This one I did not. The Ravens, Texans, Colts, Broncos, Patriots, and Commanders are on bye for Week 14. Plenty of time to rest and regroup. Yes, that was one part that I forgot to acknowledge, because you have all these teams here, and Cole did have that in the slate as well. Between these teams that are on bye this week, the 6 teams, the remainder of the teams to have a bye for this season. After this, for the remaining 4 weeks of the year, all the teams in the league will be playing. All 32 teams will be playing. There will be 16 games each week, and us as football fans will absolutely enjoy it, because we will have literally total football talk action each and every week. We'll have Saturday games, we'll have Sunday games, we'll have some Monday games. They'll be working it around the bowl season for college, and then we'll have that as well for the playoffs. So yes, it's about to change after this week. 6 says, during the regular season, the weeks when a team gets a bye are crucial, but it all depends on the schedule. Yes, I actually, with the type of schedule the Commanders had this year, I preferred the type of schedule they had in getting the bye week, and I even said that on the Commanders Gridiron Report, bing, and on Total Football Talk before. The bing was for a shout-out to my man, Kyle Nash, student of the game, which you can find on Sartoba Media each and every Wednesday at 9:05 p.m. Eastern time, as well as his work that he does with the same channel for the Duval Dive a Jaguar podcast. But yes, definitely crucial whenever a team has a bye, where it is and the type of schedule that they have. The Jaguars-Titans game is more than likely a dismal one. Then again, somebody might surprise us. I can see that potentially happening. The Bears 49ers could be quite entertaining. It all depends on who's going to make the most mistakes. Then again, it could be a dumpster fire. I'm going with the lateral, but I can see your point. The Bills defense is going to dominate, says Michael, in all caps.
Let me talk to you.
I agree with you. I think they are too. I mean, I was downplaying a little bit, but like I said, they're going to improve to 11-2.
What?
They're going to improve to 11-2.
What?
They're going to improve to 11-2, and it will not be a total.
Surprise, motherfucker.
To all of you out there in the chat.
What's that?
Y'all been bringing the fire tonight. I appreciate it on a very rare Monday night that I have the night off from work to do this. So very, very awesome. Chargers-Chiefs should be a highly viewed game. Yes. I mean, I think it will. I think it will. I mean, it's going to be highly viewed, and I think the Chargers have a chance to upset. You're talking about upsets with what you were saying earlier with what could surprise us. At least I think this could be a potential upset of the week for next week's show, and it could definitely surprise us with how it goes. That's my prediction for that game. Why is the Bengals-Cowboys game on Tuesday? It is expected to be a battle of the dumpster Pelicans. You'll have to let us discuss that next Monday. We'll break that down more. I don't want to go too far ahead of what we've got to talk about for next week. As a lifelong New England fan, I have jumped on the Bills bandwagon right now. They're the most exciting team that I have watched, and I'm rooting for Josh Allen to get the credit that he's due. I mean, I got multiple feelings about that, but for having a favorite player or something on a different team, then I don't knock you for that. But if you go from the Patriots to the Bills, that's like me going from the Commanders to the Cowboys, man. I don't know about that. You can root for Josh Allen. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's free country. But I'm just saying, there's a dude I went to school with who did the same thing when the then Redskins were playing like crap during the Daniel Snyder era, and we were still in school in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And, you know, they were not playing well. So he jumped to the Cowboys when they got Bill Parcells, and next thing I know, senior year, he's rocking Cowboys jerseys and stuff. I wanted to beat the expletive out of him. Even though our team sucks, stay loyal. That's just how I feel, okay? I don't know if you feel some type of way because of what happened with Tom Brady leaving, and then Bill Belichick leaving, and then, you know, Mayo not looking like he should be the head coach because the way the team's been ran this year. Something's got to give there with New England. I get it. They're playing like a bunch of dumpster Pelicans. But, hey, I agree, like where I was a fan of other players of other teams when I was a fan of the Redskins solely back in the day. But I don't know if I could be a fan of the Cowboys. And that's very similar to how you have to look at this situation with the Bills and the Patriots. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just trying to understand. Help me understand, Michael. Just help me understand, brother. This is why I'm not an analytics guy. Statistics are important, but they don't tell the whole story. Very true, which is why I try to give a little bit of back and forth on the two and what I've seen throughout it. But when it comes to the Bengals and Cowboys on Tuesday, I definitely understand the battle of the dumpster Pelicans, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I'm saying that upset between the Chargers and the Chiefs because I just like the way this offense is flowing for the most part. What they did this past weekend doesn't really fully support where I'm going with this. But when you look at how the Chiefs offense has underperformed this year, and the only thing keeping them upright is their defense, it's not looking all that great for the Chargers on paper, and that's why I want to pick them as the underdog to win this game. When are the Commanders going to change their name back to the Washington Redskins? I hope very soon, because my left arm, I got a whole half sleeve here, you know, of the, well, I mean, there's a comment right there, of the logo back in the day. So, I mean, there's a lot of arm and a lot of tattoo there. So there's some other broadcasts or whatnot in the past where I've shown it and talked about it, and I'll get more into something about that has to deal with that here soon. But yes, when it comes to that, they're talking about at least bringing the logo back to honor it, but the name still in the air. A lot of people are still acting like snowflakes about it. But if you want to check out Commander's Gridiron Report tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. Eastern time on this channel, I actually have a special segment where I'll be talking about that. So I don't want to give too much away to where I spoil what I'll be talking about tomorrow and then be less excited and less invested to talk about it. Try to stay tuned. It's already, the live video is already in the category on this channel. Just hit the notification bell. Make sure that you get a notification when I go live at 1:05. And sorry about the caps. Didn't know I had them on until after I posted. No, it's no big deal. No, I thought when you put it in caps, it's when I get excited and start bringing the energy with it. So you're good, my man. You know, you guys say it in caps to express yourself, even if you're cussing me out or something. I mean, we don't really encourage that, but even if you were saying that, just be you, man. I'm not jumping from New England, but I'm rooting for the Bills because of Josh Allen. I think he deserves a Super Bowl if he earns it. I'll give you that. And I think that in time, I'm not fully sold on if the Lions and the Bills meet in the Super Bowl. I just have a feeling the Lions are going to win, but I want it to be the Lions and the Bills because it's two teams that have never won. And two teams a decade ago were not playing to the level to where I would even think that in 2024 I would be talking about these two teams at the same time or in the same century having a chance to do this against one another. So it just goes to show how far both of these teams have come along. If the Bills face the Lions, they're going to lose. If the Bills face the Eagles, I'm sorry, Dante, I feel like the Bills are going to win that game. But we got a little bit longer before we can truly get to that. I want to get towards the last week or two of the season before I really start bringing out predictions until we see who's actually fully clinched it. I can give my feelings about it from this point. We can look back on it, but I don't want to get too far ahead. And Michael says, I didn't leave New England as a fan. Laugh out loud. I'm still in New England. He's still a New England fan. Well, all right. Well, as long as you're still rocking with them when they're playing. But I know as a fan and looking at the way the Commanders played last year, the way the Redskins played before they're the Commanders for 2 decades, it was tough to watch. This year, watching it's hard to believe what I'm seeing. But actually being present for the Hail Mary game, I learned that the Bears needed this.
Stop it. Get some help.
And that the Hail Mary was a total
Surprise, motherfucker.
But I'm loving each and every second that they are winning. I got to give them the credit where it's due. Credit to the coaching staff, credit to the management and the new ownership. They have been definitely rocking and rolling through this past offseason, and it's paying dividends this year for the Commanders. Sal says Josh Allen in a dome will beat the Lions like he did last time. Shout out to Sal for tuning in, for the first time tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, or at least subscribe to the channel, my man. Hope you can come on back where we have a lot more conversations. We've been doing this for about an hour and a half now. Got a little bit left in the tank for this episode, but we're at the tail end. But go ahead and if you haven't been here before, subscribe to the channel so that way you can stay tuned to all the football we talk. We also talk other sports as well. And if you're a fan of professional wrestling, on Saturdays, my guy Corey Mann brings a wrestling show to this channel. So we even got comedy on Thursday nights. We got a lot going on at Sartoba Media. So thank you all for tuning in, first-time viewers or returning guests as well. So, hey, now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and take it into the final segment called the postgame.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it.
And here with the postgame, we talked a lot of football tonight. We did, mainly the Sunday games, a preview of what my thoughts would be for tonight's game during the game. First time I've done that while we've had this show or this Total Football Talk Extra project. For a current update, Broncos still lead 28-23 with 9 minutes and 57 seconds left in the third quarter. 9 minutes and 50 seconds. My apologies. Browns have the ball. Still don't think they're going to win, even though they're only down by 5. But hey, I've been wrong before. It can happen again, but I still don't see it. For you guys that are tuning in for the first time or returning guests to the platform, just want to announce a couple things before we roll on out of here. Tomorrow, we will have not Total Football Talk, but the Commanders Gridiron Report on for his actual normal scheduled day at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on December 3rd. That will be the episode where we talk about the Commanders scoring 4 touchdowns in the first half to beat the Titans 42-19. Also, you can check out on Wednesdays the Student of the Game podcast, which is about 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time on Sartoba Media. Kyle Nash brings you his insight on sports all around between football, basketball, and much more, college level and professional level, and also has a lot of different guests on there each and every week where he talks all things sport, is what he says. Before that, earlier in the night, you could check out the Duval Dive, a Jaguar podcast, which is also produced by him and his co-host, Travis D. Holmes. They talk about all things Jacksonville Jaguars. They have had a tough year talking about the Jaguars, just like I did last year with the Commanders. So it's like I told him, it's like, you can get through this year, just like I did last year. Only way is from where you were just at, if it continues to be this bad. So we shall see how that goes for the Jags. But on Wednesdays, you can check out Kyle Nash live twice in the evening with those 2 shows. On Thursdays, it took a week off last week because of Thanksgiving. But this week, I'm bringing it back as a pre-recorded, pre-produced, and edited down to a 30-minute or less episode. Basically, all things shenanigans. It is my comedy show where we talk about things within the world, current events. Try not to really get political in it, but in certain cases we do for comedy reasons only. Not like Saturday Night Live, but it is a pretty special project. Check this out this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. It will not be a live video like this one is with us here in the chat tonight, but it will be a pre-produced, edited down, professional looking show that is usually about 20 to 25 minutes, but my goal is to have them about 30 minutes or less, which is pre-recorded and in the stages of editing to be ready for Thursday's premiere at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So yes, tomorrow, Commander's Gridiron Report, 1:05 p.m. Eastern time. That is my project, as well as this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can see me again these two times before Total Football Talk Extra, episode 15. This is episode 14, the special edition, this very special surprise 14 that normally would have been scheduled for this later this week on Friday or Saturday. But I've got some things going on this week that may push that episode to Saturday like last week. And I wanted to make sure that I took advantage of the preparation that we had for this morning's episode that I couldn't make and still utilize that content for both mine and Cole's collective platforms. And I'll be chopping out, about 30 minutes from this live episode tonight to add into what he had and form it together here in a little bit. So with all that being said, we got one more comment in the chat I want to acknowledge before I roll on out. Michael says, I don't think anybody was thinking the Lions and the Bills for the Super Bowl, but it's starting to look like a possibility. And my man Hawk is a Detroit Lions fan, a guy from work. He'll definitely love to hear that. He's been loving the praise that I've been giving to this team this year. I was even saying it in the preseason and in the off season leading up to this. I said the teams that I want you to pay attention to, and you can go back and look at the archival footage from the Total Football Talk show. The main show this is the secondary show. This is extra. That is the main. But I even said there, I said the teams that you need to look out for this year in the AFC, I said the Buffalo Bills, and I said the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I said for the NFC, I said it's going to be tough, but I said it's going to be the Detroit Lions. And then the other team I was wrong about. I thought the 49ers were still going to be serious, but with the injuries they've had and some of the miscues, I was wrong. So I was right on 3 out of 4. But at least I was right with the 2 AFC teams. So with all that being said, we've definitely covered a lot here tonight. You guys have brought a lot of firepower here in the comments between Michael, Sick Diggy, and Dante. Shout out to all 3 of you again for bringing the additional fun for me during this project when I get to do these things live. Hopefully all of you who are watching this live or in the replay enjoyed it as well. Even in the replay, if you got some comments you want to drop, some suggestions for how to improve the show, if you think it's terrible or if it needs some improvement, the graphics suck, I suck, our production suck, let me know. I don't think so, and I haven't heard that yet. We just got to get more eyes on it. Still a very new project. Haven't been doing it that long. The YouTube channel has only been up for a year and a half or so. And for what we've been able to accomplish in this short period of time in comparison to some of our friends out there that have been doing it for much longer and not even at this kind of following, or it took them 2 or 3 times longer to get to it, I'm very grateful, very humble, very appreciative, and I couldn't have done it without you, the viewer. So for myself, Drew Willingham, with the brand that, yes, I created, but I couldn't have created it without the people known as
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
I appreciate you all. Thank you as always for tuning in. I've only got one thing left to tell you before one badass outro, and that is, as always, stay safe out here in these streets.